Hi boys and girls, today we are on Saxon Book 4, Lesson 75, and we are going to be talking about measuring turns. So I have 3 things on the board that I would like for you to put in your math dictionary. The first one is a full turn. We call that a full turn because whatever it is that's turning has made a complete circle. So I'm going to demonstrate with me today. If I'm facing you and I turn the whole way around until I'm facing you again, that's called a full turn. I have turned 360 degrees. We measure turns like we measure angles using degrees, and a full turn is 360 degrees. A half turn is 180 degrees. So if I'm facing you, this would be a half turn. Now I'm facing away from you. Or if I'm facing here to my right, a half turn. Now I'm facing to the left. Okay? So a half turn is half of a circle, and that number 180 degrees is half of 360. So half turn measured with 180 degrees. Finally, we have a quarter turn. So a quarter is half of a half. A half turn was 180 degrees. A quarter turn is going to be 90 degrees. And here's what it looks like. If I'm facing you, this is a quarter turn. So if I think north, south, east, west, I'm facing north, I turn to the east, that's a quarter turn. Or I turn to the west, that's a quarter turn. A quarter turn is 1/4 of the full circle. So those are our turns and our degrees. Now, there's something else you need to know with measuring turns, and I have to get my friendly clock out here to show it to you. So we know that the hands on a clock move this direction. This is called clockwise because the hands are moving around like they do on a clock. If I start going the other direction, it's backwards on my clock. If I start counting time backwards, we call that counterclockwise. So we read a turn, this is clockwise, this is counterclockwise. Okay? So I'm going to demonstrate this. I hope it works on the video the way it would work in class. I'm going to demonstrate it by turning around and facing the way you would face if you were looking at me in class. Okay? From this direction, you won't be able to hear me as well because my voice is away from the microphone. From this direction, I'm going to turn clockwise. So I'm facing here and I turn clockwise. So I think about the 12 of the clock being right in front of me, and then I turn towards the 1, the 2, and the 3. So this is my clockwise turn. I'm picturing a 12 o'clock and I'm turning the way the hands of the clock would turn. Okay? Now, if I want to do the same thing, I'm going counterclockwise. I think of the 12 straight ahead of me, and now I'm turning towards the 11, the 10, the 9. I'm turning counterclockwise now. Okay. All right, so we have some pictures that you will have to describe. So the first thing we're going to look at we're going to pretend we have kind of a compass here. We'll call this north, south, east, west. I have some students long ago that told me never eat soggy waffles, and that's how they remember the directions. So north, south, east, west, that's kind of how I tend to do it, but never eat soggy waffles. That works too. So let's say somebody, let me get a different color. Let's say somebody is facing north. That different color doesn't look very different. Okay, so on my compass here, someone is facing north, and they turn so that they're now facing east. We need to know what is the measure of that turn in degrees. So how much did they turn in degrees? And was it clockwise or counterclockwise? So my compass here also can kind of look like a clock. We can say this is 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and 9 o'clock. And we're turning clockwise. And a quarter turn, if you look at your notes, a quarter turn is 90 degrees. Another way to remember that is look at the angle that makes. If we're facing this way and we turn this way, do you see the angle of my compass? That's a right angle, which is also measured as 90 degrees. So we turned 90 degrees clockwise. All right, same idea. We have our compass here. I'm going to give you a different problem. So in this problem, again, they're facing north, but this time they go the whole way around this way to face east. So they started out here and they went this way to face east. So are they turning clockwise or counterclockwise? They're going the opposite way of the clock, so we call that counterclockwise. And then we have to figure out how many degrees that is. We don't have that one up on the board, so we have to get a little bit creative, outsmart the problem here. We know that every time, every one of these is 90 degrees. Every quarter turn is 90 degrees. So this is 90 degrees here. And then from here to here is another 90 degrees. Or that makes a half turn, which is how many degrees? A half turn is 180. Then they make another quarter turn, which is another 90 degrees. And if we add those numbers together, 0 plus 0 is 0, 8 plus 9 is 17, and 1 plus 1 is 2, we get 270 degrees. Now, this seems to be the one that kids have trouble remembering. When you do this enough, if you get enough practice, this 270 is something that you'll just remember as much as you remember the 90 degrees and the 180 degrees and the 360 degrees. And we can also think about it as, what is 9 times 3? 27. So 90 times 3 is going to give us 270. Okay? All right, so I have an activity. I want you to stand up. You are going to stand up and face your TV or your monitor, whatever you're watching this lesson on. You're probably already facing me. So just stand up and face me. And I want you to make a quarter turn to the right. So if you're not so sure about your left-right, make L's like this. Is this an L or is this an L? This one's correct. This is left. So this is your right hand. So if you're facing me, I'll face the same direction as you. You're going to make a quarter turn to your right. So now we should be looking that way. Okay? how many degrees did you turn? If you made a quarter turn, 90 degrees. Yes. Did you turn clockwise or counterclockwise? If you turned to the right, you turned clockwise. Okay, so original position, you're facing me again. And this time you're going to make a quarter turn to the left. So I'll face the same way as you, and I'm going to make a quarter turn to the left. So now we're facing this direction. How many degrees did you turn? 90 degrees. And did you turn clockwise or counterclockwise? Counterclockwise. If you turn to the left, you're going counterclockwise. All right, my next example uses those triangles we had yesterday. So I've got my triangles out here. And this one shows point A. And I have one triangle that's sitting just like this on point A. The other triangle is also on point A, but it's sitting like this. So the question says, describe the amount and the direction of a turn around point A that would position triangle 2, which is the bottom one here, onto triangle 1. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to trace triangle 1 here so that I only have to hold one of these. And we can still see what we're doing. Okay, so here's triangle 1. Triangle 2 looks like this, and they want us to move triangle 2 on point A. So I'm going to stick my finger right there on point A, and I am going to rotate triangle 2 so that hopefully it lines up right where triangle 1 was. And there it is, like that. So how far did I rotate it? That can tend to be tricky. So here's what I like to do. I'm going to draw just one side of triangle 2 here so that we can just focus on that. When I'm trying to figure out how far a shape rotated, I like to look if there's a vertical side or a horizontal side to the shape. That's the side I want to look at. And I really don't think about the rest of the shape at all because I'm just trying to picture how far does this side have to go in order to line up with the same side on the other shape. So that's what I'm looking at. This is the distance. It has to go from here to here. So if we imagine that north, south, east, west again, it's making a quarter turn, which is how many degrees? 90 degrees. And we're going 90 degrees this way. So is that 90 degrees clockwise or 90 degrees counterclockwise? If we start here and go up here, that would be 90 degrees counterclockwise. Just like that. All right. If you were here, I would have you moving your triangles all over the place and following the directions. So, here's what I want you to do. your lesson practice on page 481, letters B through F have you describing rotations. So rather than just visualizing those, I want you to use your triangles from yesterday to actually move those rotations as you're answering the problem, okay? And you can find the answers in your answer key. So as you do each one, write it down and then go back and check your answers once you've made all those rotations. The last thing that I need to address with this lesson is we can use rotation to figure out if two shapes are congruent. And I'll go back to this problem here to do that. I had my first triangle here. I had my second triangle here. They look congruent. They look like they're about the same shape, the same size. But the way to find out for sure is to rotate one of them so that it sits on top of the other, and I can see, are they the exact same shape? Are they the exact same size? So we use this rotation, we actually use translation and reflection as well to move one shape on top of another so that we can determine, are they congruent? If they line up and there's no extra side sticking out for one of them, then yes, they are congruent. If they don't line up, then we say, no, they are not congruent. They're not the same shape. They're not the same size. So I'll repeat, please use your triangles to work on the lesson practice problems. And after that, you will need to do written practice, which also begins on page 481. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you soon.